The transport ship landed softly on the wide platform of the Galactic Academy. The doors opened with a quiet hiss. Students from many different planets walked out slowly, looking around at their new school with wide eyes and curious faces. Among them was a small, human girl named Yuna. She was 12 years old. She had dark hair tied in 2 braids and wore the simple gray uniform of new students. Her eyes were bright and full of wonder as she looked at the massive buildings around her. Everything was so big. Everything was so different from her home on New Bizon, a human colony far away in the Sol system. Yuna was the only human student at the academy that year. Humans were new to the galactic community. They had only recently been allowed to join the Great Council of Species. Many aliens did not know much about humans. Some thought they were weak. Some thought they were strange. Most simply did not think about them at all. The academy was famous across the galaxy. Young beings from hundreds of different worlds came here to learn together. They studied science and history and languages. They learned about each other's cultures. The goal was simple. If young people from different species could become friends, then maybe their planets would never go to war. Yuna walked into her assigned classroom and looked around. She saw creatures she had only read about in books. There were the Velati, tall insect-like beings with hard shells and clicking mandibles. There were the Sarishi, soft and gentle creatures with many tentacles and color-changing skin. There were the Gren, short and round with 6 eyes each. All of them turned to look at her when she entered. The instructor was an old Gren named Palak. He had been teaching at the academy for 40 years. He had seen many students come and go. He nodded at Yuna kindly and pointed to an empty seat near the window. "Welcome, young human," he said. His voice was warm. "Please sit. We are still waiting for one more student." Yuna sat down and placed her bag on the floor. The seat next to her was empty. She smiled at the Sureshi student in front of her. The Sureshi turned a light pink color, which meant she was shy but pleased. For a few minutes, everything was calm. Students talked quietly to each other. Palak prepared his teaching materials. Sunlight came through the large windows and made the room feel peaceful. Then the door opened again. The room went silent. Every student stopped moving. Every student stopped breathing. Even old Palak felt fear run through his body like cold water. A Karvith walked into the classroom. The Karvith were the most feared species in the known galaxy. They were hunters. They were killers. For thousands of years, they had conquered and destroyed. 3 entire civilizations had almost disappeared because of them. Only the Galactic Council's strongest threats had stopped their wars of conquest. This Karvith was young, but he was still terrifying. He stood 8 feet tall. His body was covered in dark green scales that looked like armor. His arms were thick with muscle. His hands ended in claws that could cut through metal. His face was like a dragon from old Earth stories. His eyes were golden with thin black pupils. His teeth, when he opened his mouth slightly, were sharp and long. His name was Taiwu. He was 17 years old. He was the first Karvith ever sent to study at the Galactic Academy. His government had sent him as a sign of peace. But peace was hard to believe when you looked at him. The Velothi students pressed themselves against the far wall. Their shells clicked with terror. The Sureshi turned white, which meant they were very, very scared. Even the Gren younglings tried to hide behind their desks. Taiwu looked around the room slowly. His golden eyes moved from face to face. He saw their fear. He was used to it. Everyone was always afraid of him. Everyone was always afraid of his kind. He saw only one empty seat. It was next to the human girl. Taiwu walked toward it. His footsteps were heavy. The floor shook slightly with each step. Students moved away from him as he passed. Some of them whimpered. He reached the empty seat and looked down at the human. She was so small. Her head barely reached his elbow. She had no claws. She had no fangs. She had no armor. By every measure, she was weak. By every measure, she was prey. Yuna looked up at him. She did not scream. She did not run. She did not cry or beg or freeze in terror. Instead, she smiled. "Hi," she said. Her voice was clear and friendly. "I'm Yuna. Is this seat taken? I mean, I guess not, since you're about to sit in it." That was a silly question. Taiwu stared at her. In his entire life, no one had ever smiled at him like that. No one had ever spoken to him so casually. No one had ever looked at him without fear in their eyes. He did not know what to do, so he sat down. The chair groaned under his weight. His tail curled around the leg of the desk. He was too big for the furniture. He looked uncomfortable and awkward. Yuna watched him settle in. Then she leaned a little closer. "Your scales are really beautiful," she said. "Are they always that color? Or do they change?" The entire classroom held its breath. Taiwu turned his massive head toward her. His golden eyes blinked once, twice. "They do not change," he said slowly. His voice was deep and rough, like stones grinding together. "This color means I am healthy." "That's so cool," Yuna said happily. "My grandmother always says you can tell someone is healthy by their hair. Maybe it's the same thing with scales." Taiwu did not respond. He did not know how to respond, but something strange happened in his chest. Something warm. Something he had never felt before. At the front of the room. Instructor Palak watched this exchange with all 6 of his eyes wide open. In 40 years of teaching, he had never seen anything like this. The tiny human was talking to the apex predator of the galaxy like he was just another classmate. He had a feeling that this year was going to be very, very interesting. The first week of classes passed slowly. Every day, the other students watched Yuna and Taiwu with fear and confusion. They could not understand what they were seeing. The human girl acted like the Carveth was not dangerous at all. She talked to him. She sat next to him. She even laughed near him. Did she not know what he was? Did she not know that his species had killed billions? Did she not know that one swipe of his claws could end her life? Taiwu was confused too. Every morning, he walked into the classroom expecting the human to finally show fear. Every morning, she just smiled and waved at him. "Good morning, Taiwu," she would say. "Did you sleep well?" No one had ever asked him such questions. No one had ever cared how he slept. "I slept adequately," he would answer. His voice was stiff. He did not know how to have simple conversations. "That's good," Yuna would say. Then she would turn back to her studies like nothing unusual had happened. On the 5th day, something changed. It was lunchtime. Students went to the large eating hall where food from many different planets was served. Each species had their own section because their foods were very different. Some species ate plants. Some ate meat. Some ate things that other species could not even look at without feeling sick. The Carveth section was in the far corner of the hall. It was separated from the other areas by a thick glass wall. This was for safety. Carveth food was raw meat, and watching them eat could frighten other students. Taiwu sat alone at his table. A large piece of raw blue meat sat on his plate. He ate it slowly, tearing pieces off with his claws and teeth. He was used to eating alone. He had been alone his whole life. Then he heard a knock on the glass. He looked up. Yuna was standing on the other side of the wall. She was holding her own lunch tray. She pointed at the door that led into his section. She made a questioning face. Taiwu did not understand. Was she asking to come in? Why would she want to do that? He nodded slowly. Yuna walked around to the door and opened it. She came inside and sat down across from him. She placed her tray on the table. Her food was very different from his. She had rice and vegetables and some kind of cooked fish. "I thought you might want company," she said simply. "Eating alone is sad." Taiwu stared at her. "Are you not afraid?" "Of what?" He looked down at his plate. Blood from the raw meat had pooled around it. His claws were red. His teeth had bits of flesh between them. "Of this," he said. "Of me." Yuna tilted her head and thought about it. "Should I be?" "Most species are." "Well," Yuna said, picking up her eating sticks, "I'm not most species. Besides, humans eat meat too. We just cook it first. But I've seen my uncle eat raw fish many times. It's not that different." Taiwu did not know what to say. He watched her eat her meal calmly. She did not look at his food with disgust. She did not look at him with fear. She just ate and hummed quietly to herself. "Why are you being kind to me?" he asked finally. The question had been building inside him for days. Yuna stopped eating and looked at him with gentle eyes. "Because you looked lonely," she said. "When you walked into class on the first day, everyone saw a scary predator. But I saw someone who expected to be hated. That made me sad for you." Something cracked inside Taiwu's chest. It was not a bad feeling. It was like a wall breaking. A wall he had built around his heart many years ago. "I have never had a friend," he said quietly. "My people do not have friends. We have allies. We have rivals. We have prey. But not friends." "Well," Yuna smiled, "now you have one. If you want." From that day forward, they ate lunch together every day. The other students watched through the glass wall with shock. They saw the tiny human sitting across from the massive predator. They saw her laughing at things he said. They saw her reaching across the table to take bits of food from his plate, just to try it. They saw the Carveth, slowly and awkwardly, learning to laugh. Word spread through the academy. The human and the Carveth were friends. Real friends. The news reached the teachers. It reached the administrators. It even reached some members of the Galactic Council. No one knew what to make of it. Instructor Palak watched the pair more closely than anyone. He saw how Taiwu changed when Yuna was near. The predator became softer. His voice became gentler. His movements became more careful, like he was afraid of accidentally hurting her. And Yuna changed too. She became braver. She spoke more in class. She smiled more. Having Taiwu as her friend made her feel safe in this strange place far from home. One evening, Palak called Taiwu to his office. The young Carveth stood before the old teacher's desk, looking worried. Had he done something wrong? "Do not be concerned," Palak said kindly. "I only want to ask you something." "Yes, instructor?" Palak leaned forward. All 6 of his eyes focused on Taiwu's face. "The human girl," he said. "Yuna, she treats you differently than anyone has ever treated you before. How does that make you feel?" Taiwu was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke, his deep voice was soft. "It makes me feel like I am not a monster," he said. "For the first time in my life." Palak nodded slowly. He understood now. The human girl was not ignoring the danger. She simply saw past it. She saw the person behind the predator. Perhaps, the old teacher thought, humans were more remarkable than anyone had realized. 3 months passed at the Galactic Academy. Yuna and Taiwu had become a famous pair. Everyone knew about them. The tiny human and the giant predator. The most unlikely friendship in the history of the school. Not everyone was happy about this. Some of the older students did not like humans. They thought humans did not deserve to be part of the galactic community. Humans were too new, too weak, too strange. Why should such a small and powerless species be given the same rights as ancient civilizations? The leader of these students was a Velothi named Dohan. He was 17 years old and came from a wealthy family. His shell was polished and decorated with expensive metals. His mandibles clicked with authority when he spoke. Many younger students feared him. Do-han had watched Yuna for months. He did not like how she walked around the academy without fear. He did not like how she smiled at everyone. Most of all, he did not like how she had made friends with a Karvith. It was unnatural. It was wrong. One afternoon, Do-han decided to teach the human a lesson. Yuna was walking alone through the atmospheric garden. This was a large indoor park where plants from many different worlds grew together. The air was warm and sweet. Colorful flowers bloomed everywhere. It was Yuna's favorite place in the whole academy. She was looking at a purple flower when Do-han and 4 of his friends appeared behind her. "Human," Do-han said loudly. Yuna had turned around. She saw the 5 Velothi standing in a line, blocking her path. Their shells reflected the light. Their mandibles clicked slowly, making a threatening sound. "Oh, hello," Yuna said politely. "Do you need something?" Do-han stepped closer. He was much taller than her. His shadow fell over her small body. "I need you to understand something," he said. "You do not belong here. Your species is weak and worthless. You have no claws, no armor, no weapons. You are prey animals who learn to use tools. Nothing more." Yuna's smile faded. But she did not look afraid. She stood straight and looked up at the Velothi with steady eyes. "That's not true," she said calmly. "Humans have just as much right to be here as anyone else." Do-han laughed. His friends laughed too. The sound was ugly and cruel, right? "You think you have rights?" Do-han leaned down until his face was close to hers. His mandibles clicked inches from her nose. "The only reason you are still alive in this galaxy is because stronger species allow it. Remember that, little prey." "I'm not prey," Yuna said firmly. "And you're being very rude." This made Do-han angry. No one talked back to him, especially not a weak little human. He raised one of his arms. The end of it was sharp, like a natural blade. Velothi used these arms to cut plants on their home world. The bee could also cut flesh. "Perhaps I should teach you proper respect," he said darkly. Suddenly, the temperature in the garden dropped. A shadow fell over all of them. A shadow much bigger than Do-han's. The Velothi turned around slowly. Their eyes went wide. Their shells began to shake. Taiwu stood behind them. The Karvith had never looked more terrifying. His scales had changed color, becoming darker and marked with red lines. This was threat coloration. It was a warning that said, "I am about to kill." His claws were fully extended. Each one was as long as a knife and twice as sharp. His mouth was slightly open, showing rows of teeth that could bite through bone. And his eyes. His golden eyes burned with a fury that made even the air feel heavy. "You will step away from her," Taiwu said. His voice was not loud, but it carried a promise of violence that made every Velathi's legs go weak. Now, Do-han tried to speak. "We were just now." The 5 Velothi scattered. They ran so fast that one of them dropped pieces of his decorative shell. They disappeared into the garden, their clicking sounds fading into the distance. Taiwu stood still for a moment. His breath came out in heavy growls. His scales slowly returned to their normal color. His claws pulled back in. Then he looked at Yuna. "Are you hurt?" he asked. His voice was rough with worry. "No," Yuna said. "I'm fine." They were just being mean with words. "They threatened you." That one raised his blade, but he didn't actually do anything. Taiwu's hands curled into fists. He was going to. I could smell his intent. I could smell his violence. Yuna looked at her friend. She saw how tense he was. She saw how hard he was trying to control himself. He had come very close to killing those students. For her, she reached out and touched his arm. Her small hand rested on his scaled skin. "Taiwu," she said softly. "It's okay. I'm okay. You don't need to be scary for me." Taiwu looked down at her hand. Then he looked at her face. Her eyes were not afraid. They were not even surprised. They were just warm and kind, like always. Something in him released. The tension left his muscles. The anger drained from his heart. "I have never felt this way before," he said quietly. "This need to protect. This fear of losing. Is this what having a friend means?" Yuna smiled up at him. "Yeah," she said. "That's exactly what it means." She squeezed his arm gently. "Thank you for coming to help me. But next time, maybe don't look quite so murderous. I think those guys might need new pants now." Taiwu blinked. Then, for the first time in his life, he made a sound that was almost like a laugh. "I will try," he said. "But I make no promises." Yuna grinned. "Fair enough. Now come on. Let's go get dinner." All this excitement made me hungry. She turned and walked toward the exit. Taiwu followed her, his massive form moving carefully to stay at her side. Behind them, hidden among the alien flowers, Instructor Palak watched with all 6 of his eyes. He had seen everything, and he knew he needed to call an emergency meeting. That night, the teachers of the Galactic Academy gathered in the large meeting room. There were instructors from 7 different species. They sat around a circular table, looking worried and confused. Instructor Palak stood at the front of the room. Behind him, a large screen showed images and data. "Thank you all for coming," he said. His voice was serious. "I called this meeting because of what happened today in the atmospheric garden. But more importantly, because of what it revealed about our human student." An instructor named Vela, who was a Sureshi with blue tentacles, spoke up. "We heard about the incident. The Velothi students threatened the human girl, and the Karvath boy defended her. This is concerning, but not surprising. The Karvath are violent by nature." "That is not what concerns me," Palak said. "What concerns me is the human's reaction. Or rather, her lack of reaction." He pressed a button. The screen showed a recording from the garden's security cameras. The teachers watched Dohan threaten Yuna. They watched Taiwu arrive. They watched the Velothi run away in terror. Then they watched Yuna calmly touch the Karvath's arm and speak to him gently. They watched her smile. They watched her make a joke. She was not afraid, Palak said. Not of the Velothi who threatened her, and not of the Karvath who was ready to kill for her. "Perhaps she is simply foolish," another teacher suggested. "Young humans may not understand danger." "No," Palak said firmly. "I have been researching human history and biology for the past 3 months. I have learned things that we all need to know." He changed the image on the screen. Now it showed pictures of Earth, the human homeworld. "We classified humans as a prey species," Palak continued. "This classification was based on their physical traits. They have no natural weapons. No claws, no fangs, no poison. Their skin is soft. Their bodies are not particularly strong. By standard measures, they appear to be prey." He paused and looked around the room. "We were wrong." The teachers shifted uncomfortably in their seats. "Humans are predators," Palak said. "They are a type of predator we have never encountered before. They are called pursuit predators." He showed new images. Humans running across vast grasslands. Humans swimming in deep oceans. Humans climbing tall mountains. Most predators in the galaxy use speed or ambush tactics. They catch prey quickly or not at all. Humans are different. Humans chase their prey. They follow animals for hours, for days. They walk and run until their prey collapses from exhaustion. Then they kill it. The Sureshi instructor turned pale. "For days? They can move for days without stopping." "Yes," Humans have incredible endurance. Their bodies are designed to keep moving when other species would die. They can survive heat that would cook a Velothi. They can survive cold that would freeze a Gren. They can survive injuries that would kill any of us. Palak changed the images again. Now the screen showed humans eating different foods. They eat a chemical called capsaicin, he said. On their world, it is found in plants called peppers. This chemical causes burning pain. It is a defense mechanism that plants use to avoid being eaten. Humans eat it for enjoyment. They have bred plants to contain more of it because they want more pain. Several teachers made sounds of horror. They consume a poison called alcohol. In small amounts, it impairs their thinking and coordination. In large amounts, it kills them. They drink it at celebrations. This is madness, Vela whispered. There is more, Palak said. Look at this. The screen showed images of humans with other animals from Earth. Humans standing beside wolves. Humans riding on elephants. Humans swimming with sharks. Humans holding venomous snakes. Humans form social bonds with dangerous creatures. They do not avoid predators. They befriend them. They domesticate them. On Earth, the most popular human companion animal is a subspecies of wolf. They sleep with wolves in their homes. Their children play with wolves. The room was silent. Every teacher was staring at the screen with wide eyes. The human girl does not fear the Karvith because she comes from a species that turns predators into family members. To her, Taiwu is not a threat. He is a potential pack member. A potential friend. Palak turned off the screen and faced the other teachers directly. We do not have one apex predator in our classroom. We have two. The Karvith kills with strength and speed. The human kills with endurance and determination. But the human has one additional weapon that makes her more dangerous than any Karvith. What weapon? Asked a Gren teacher nervously. Social bonding. Humans will adopt anything. They will love anything. They will die for anything they consider part of their pack. And they will kill for it too. Palak sat down slowly. He suddenly looked very tired. In 3 months, that small human girl has done something no diplomat could do in 1,000 years. She has made a Karvith care about someone other than himself. She has made a killer want to protect instead of destroy. She has changed him. The teachers looked at each other. They did not know what to say. What does this mean for the academy? Vela asked finally. Palak closed all 6 of his eyes and sighed. It means we need to watch carefully. Because if humans can turn a Karvith into a friend, they can turn anyone into a friend. In 1,000 years, every species in this galaxy might be part of the human pack. Is that a good thing or a bad thing? Palak opened his eyes again. He thought about Yuna's smile. He thought about Taiwu's awkward laugh. I honestly do not know, he said. But I think we are about to find out. The academic year continued, and something strange began to happen at the Galactic Academy. It started small. A shy Sorishi student named Jisoo approached Yuna one day in the library. Jisoo was known for being very anxious. Her tentacles were always curled tight against her body. She rarely spoke. She had no friends. Excuse me, Jisoo said quietly. Her skin was pale pink with nervousness. I saw how you helped the Karvith student feel comfortable. I was wondering if maybe, possibly, you might have time to study together sometime. Only if you want to. You probably don't want to. I'm sorry for bothering you. Yuna looked up from her book and smiled warmly. I would love that, she said. Come sit with us at lunch today. Do you like fish? I always order extra. And just like that, Jisoo became part of the group. Then came Minho, a young Gren who had been bullied for months because he only had 5 eyes instead of 6. Among his species, this was considered a shameful defect. Other Gren students avoided him. They called him names. They made him feel worthless. Taiwu found him crying alone behind the academic building one evening. The massive Carveth did not know what to do. He had never comforted anyone in his life, but he remembered how Yuna had comforted him. He remembered her gentle voice and kind words. So he sat down next to the small Gren. The ground shook with his weight. "You are crying," Taiwu said simply. Minho looked up in terror. A Carveth was sitting next to him. He was surely going to die. "Please don't eat me," Minho whimpered. "I am not going to eat you. Gren tastes bad." Minho blinked all 5 of his eyes. "What? That was a joke. Yuna taught me that jokes can make people feel better." "Did it work?" Minho stared at the giant predator. Slowly, very slowly, he started to laugh. It was a strange, hiccuping laugh, mixed with tears. But it was real. "Come with me," Taiwu said, standing up. "You will eat dinner with us tonight." From that day forward, Minho became part of the group. Word spread through the academy. The humans' pack was growing. Anyone who felt lonely, anyone who felt different, anyone who felt afraid could find a place with them. All they had to do was be kind. 2 Velothi students named Suri and Bomi approached Yuna after the incident with Dohan. They apologized for what their species mates had done. They said they were ashamed of the bullying. They wanted to be different. Yuna welcomed them immediately. The teachers watched in amazement as the group grew. By the end of the year, Yuna's pack had members from 6 different species. They ate lunch together every day. They studied together in the library. They sat together in class. They protected each other. One day, a representative from the Galactic Council visited the academy. His name was Keeper Han, and he was a very old and important Sureshi. He had traveled across the galaxy to see something he could not believe. Instructor Palak led him to the courtyard where students spent their free time. There, in the center of the grass, was the strangest sight Keeper Han had ever seen. Taiwu was lying on the ground, his massive body stretched out in the warm sunlight. Yuna sat beside his head, carefully braiding colorful cords into the ridge of scales on his crest. She was humming a song from her home world. Around them sat the rest of the pack. Jizu's tentacles were wrapped gently around Yuna's arm. Minho was reading from a book, sharing the story with everyone. Suri and Bomi were playing a card game with a Gren student named Dayan, who had joined the group just last week. They were laughing. All of them. Even Taiwu, whose rumbling laugh sounded like distant thunder. "What is this?" Keeper Han asked in a whisper. Palak watched his students with soft eyes. "This," he said, "is what humans do. They look at the galaxy and see not strangers, but friends they have not met yet. They look at predators and see companions. They look at the lonely and see family." Keeper Han was quiet for a long time. "The council debated for years about whether to admit humans," he said finally. "Many thought they were too weak, too primitive, too young as a species. They were wrong," Palak said simply. "Yes, I see that now." In the courtyard, Yuna finished the braid in Taiwu's scales. She tied it with a small ribbon and patted his head. "There. Now you look fancy." "I am a Carveth warrior," Taiwu grumbled. "I do not look fancy." "You look fancy and pretty, and I won't hear any arguments." Jisoo giggled. Her skin turned bright yellow with happiness. Taiwu made a grumpy sound, but he did not remove the braid. He would never remove it. It was the first gift anyone had ever given him. Keeper Han turned to Palak. "What do you think will happen? In the future, I mean. If humans continue to spread through the galaxy. If they continue to make these connections." Palak remembered the question he had been asked at the teacher meeting months ago. Is this a good thing or a bad thing? Now, watching his students laugh together in the sunlight, he finally knew the answer. "I think," he said slowly, "that in 100 years, every species in this galaxy will have human friends. In 1,000 years, Every species will be part of the human pack. They will not conquer us with weapons or force. They will conquer us with kindness, with acceptance, with love. Should we be afraid of that? Palak watched Yuna help Minho understand a difficult math problem. He watched Taiwu carefully hand a fallen flower to Jisoo. He watched Suri and Bomi cheer as their card game ended in a tie. No, he said with certainty. We should be grateful. Keeper Han nodded slowly. Then, surprising even himself, he smiled. I think I would like to meet this human girl, he said. Of course. But I should warn you about something. What? Palak made the grin equivalent of a grin. By the end of your conversation, you will probably be part of her pack too. Keeper Han laughed. It had been 50 years since he had laughed at Anne in the courtyard. Without knowing she was being watched, Yuna raised her hand and waved at them. Hi there, she called out. Do you want to join us? We have snacks. The keeper and the instructor looked at each other. Then, together, they walked toward the light. The end.